Hello, welcome to ASPN. This is Ash.
And I'm Jack. Today we have a very special guest. We have the 2023 Maryland Sportscaster of the Year, Geoff Arnold. Geoff, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Let's start off with you telling a little bit about yourself and what you do for the great organization of Baltimore.
Well, Jack and Ash, it's great to be with you guys. I think it's really cool what you all are doing, and thanks for inviting me to be part of your show. So my background is I was a minor league baseball broadcaster before I got to the Orioles. So I spent 8 years in the minor leagues, began in Frisco, Texas, matriculated to Wilmington, Delaware, and then I got into the Orioles system the year after that. So I think it would have been 2014. Joined the Frederick Keys right as the Winter Olympics were getting started. And as I was in Frederick, I would broadcast all their games for a couple of years. I got to meet people with the Orioles and Masson over time. And then I started to do other freelance broadcasting too. So I got to the point where a lot of my regular season stuff was on radio. And then in the off season, I would do college football and college basketball, hockey. Even did field hockey once. I'm not sure if either of you guys have broadcast field hockey before or have any a desire to, but I can promise you it is incredibly hard to do. And I hope no tape of that exists anywhere because it could probably ruin a career. But anyways, back in 2019, as we know, the Orioles were starting their rebuilding process. You had brought on Mike Elias, you brought on Brandon Hyde, and the team was making some changes to its broadcasting group. And I had started to do some work for the team on Masson for O's Extra, doing some features and stuff that were minor league based. A lot of it was because when you're in rebuilding mode, you need to find content any way you can. So I started doing that, and then it eventually led to an opportunity for me to jump on board the Orioles broadcast team, and I was hired as their main radio guy, which is what I still do. I do a little more television now than I did when I started. So Kevin does most of the TV games, and I do the second most amount. I do pretty much all the radio games, and that includes spring training and the playoffs. And right now, we're gearing up for the start of Orioles baseball season. I am engaged. I got engaged during the off season, so I'm also trying to plan a wedding in addition to that. The good news is we're most of the way done. And so I think by the time we get done with the Orioles baseball season and when the Orioles win the World Series and you have the parade and everything, by the time we're all done, I'll have 1 month basically until the wedding. And at that point, sure, it's going to just be a matter of saying I do and getting down there and everything, but it's been an exciting year, and I'm looking forward to kind of what's to come with the Orioles season.
Well, Geoff, that is so awesome. So when I grew up, I want to be a sports broadcaster just like you. And the reason why I want to be a sports broadcaster is because I love sports and I love entertaining. So it's both together and seems to be the best job to have. So, Geoff, what is the reason why you got into sports broadcasting?
Well, Ash, I got into sports broadcasting when I was in college, and it kind of was by accident. I went to this little school called Dickinson College. What's really funny is that the guy that's my primary partner on Orioles radio is Brett Hollander, and he and I were both there for 1 year where we overlapped. He was a senior, I was a freshman. And amazingly, a little Division III college in the Centennial Conference has produced two major league broadcasters, which is pretty wild. And what's even crazier is that they're both with the team at the same time. But I got into it because I had a friend that told me that they had sports broadcasting at Dickinson, and it was part of a radio station called WDCV. And when you go to college, you guys will experience this. You're trying to meet people, you're trying to make new friends, you're probably in a place that you've never been before, and everybody's in the same boat. So for me, it was joining a lot of clubs. So when my friend told me about sports broadcasting at WDCV, I said, well, I might as well give this one a shot. And the first game I did was a non-conference football game between Dickinson College, who at the time was a very good team, and Hampden-Sydney College down in Virginia. And I realized that I'm not very good at this right now, but if I give it a shot and I keep with it, I think I can be good at it, number one. The most important thing was it was so much fun. And I realized that whatever I do coming out of college, I want to make sure that it's something fun and it's something in sports. My major was political science, thought about being an attorney, I ended up working for a judge after my freshman year of college, and I've realized that the best part of the day was lunch. When you realize that, that probably means it's not something that you should be doing. So I ended up choosing the sports broadcasting route, and then that kind of started my career where you're young and you're figuring it out and making a lot of mistakes and you bounce from city to city and place to place. But you pick up mentors along the way, you work your butt off, and then eventually it leads to an opportunity. But for me, it wasn't maybe quite like it is for you two right now, where at your ages, you know that you want to be doing what I'm doing one day.
Yeah.
For me, it was more like just trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and fortunately, I stumbled into it.
That's awesome, and that's one of the reasons. One of the reasons I want to be a sports broadcaster is because sports is one of my favorite things. I love watching sports. I love obviously talking about sports. So it's always come easy to me, and I like what you said. When you do something that you like, it's obviously easier. And I like what you said about when lunch was your favorite part of the day. You knew that you had to find something different because that's not how you wanted to feel. Geoff, what would you say is the best part about being a sports broadcaster?
Well, I think the easy part is you get to go to all the games for free. And that's really cool. And you get a great seat and you get to travel with the team and get to know the players. And, you know, if I wasn't broadcasting for the Orioles, I would still be following their games every day. And it's the same thing with all the other teams out there. Like I follow the Ravens. I'm a big Capitals fan too. Like my fiance and I watch every single game. I try and get her to watch the Ravens. She doesn't understand football quite as well, but I watch every game. So I'd say that I think if the reason that I like to do it is because like every day you're not quite sure what you're going to get. And baseball is especially cool because it's like a long book. It's like 162 chapters and you're not quite sure how it's going to go and how it's going to end. And that's what makes baseball really special. I love the relationships that I've built with the team. I love the relationships I've built with our other broadcasters. Ben McDonald's one of my closest friends. Brett Hollander is one of my closest friends. Both of those guys are going to be at my wedding this year. So when you can form relationships like you can in sports because you're all together for so much time and everyone takes on, you know, it's kind of a second family almost, and you're around them more than you're around your typical family. And it just makes it extra special. And I just don't think there are a whole lot of careers where you can come in contact with people like that and do something that you enjoy and that those people that you're with make such a big impact on your life. So that's kind of it. And plus doing games at Camden Yards isn't too bad either.
Yeah, I would definitely love making friends and meeting players on teams, and I would love to go to games. And also, I want to congrats you on getting engaged.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Kind of happened at the right time. When you do this, guys, you'll realize that, you know, trying to find the right person isn't always the easiest because our careers for us are so much fun, but they're very demanding on your time, and it takes somebody who's very independent and understanding, sometimes a little strong-willed too. That doesn't hurt, and who is encouraging, because it's just as much about the person that you're with as it is about yourself, because they're making a lot of sacrifices as well. And you know, I'm very fortunate what I get to do. We make a really good living. My fiance and I get to live a really nice life. But it wouldn't be possible if she wasn't on board with it. And when I found her, it was kind of right away, knew it was the right person. And so very excited to get married in December.
Are you going to take her to like a baseball game?
You know what? She comes to games occasionally. She and I like to go to a lot of hockey games. We go to a lot of Capitals games, and some of it is because she just understands hockey better than baseball. I think it's always good when she can come to a game and maybe there's some kind of event going on. Like, I know it wasn't a great game for the Orioles last year. It was when the Orioles were playing the Rays in that series where they ended up clinching a playoff spot on that Sunday, and it was where Adam Frazier has the double. She was actually there, I think, 2 nights before, and it was the Brett Young concert. So she went with her friend, and I think she didn't like that the Orioles lost, but I think it immediately went away when she realized that Brett Young was playing afterwards. So more of a casual type of baseball fan. We're still teaching her some of the intricacies of the game. But one thing you guys will realize too is if you meet somebody and they're not a sports fan, that's actually not a bad thing because they can teach you about other kinds of things and help you become more of a well-rounded person.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So now I know it's not very easy to do sports broadcasting. So what would you say is the hardest part of your job?
I think the hardest part of the job is probably getting enough sleep and trying to stay fresh because baseball, as many people will call it, is a grind. And no matter how much fun it is, when you're in the middle of like 14 or 15 straight days with a game, you can get a little tired, especially when you might throw a West Coast trip in there and you might play a day game against a team, and then we'll fly out to Arizona and play a couple of games there, and then maybe we go from there to Anaheim, and then you go from there to someplace else, and you're bouncing from city to city and time zone to time zone. That can be a challenging part of it, is just to try and stay fresh. But it's why, for me, I value my sleep. Like, I might go to bed a little later, but I get up a little later. And that way, whenever I go to the ballpark, I'm ready to go. What I do find, though, is whenever we're getting ready to start, there's a little bit of extra energy that comes into play. It's like no matter how tired you are, once you get started, you get the adrenaline going a little bit. And then you kind of forget if you're tired or whatever. But I would say just staying fresh, keeping your body in good shape, staying healthy, and making sure to get your sleep.
Hi.
Yeah, so I know we kind of already touched on this, so I'm going to add a little bit to it. But when you were at Dickinson University, when you switched your major, like, let's say, for example, you were to have a selection of what baseball team you were to go to to announce. Were the Orioles in your plans, or did you have ties to the Orioles somehow, or did they just pop out to you somehow?
Jack, it's a good question. I would say that most broadcasters will tell you that when certain opportunities open up, you try and get one of them. There are only, for me, 30 jobs in Major League Baseball right now doing what I'm doing. And there's only 30 jobs on the television side, too, and I managed to do a little bit of both. So if there is something that opens up, even if it may not be the team that you grew up rooting for, or it's maybe not a team you have a connection to, but they offer you a job, well, suddenly that's going to become your new favorite team. And when you get one of these jobs, it's very special, and it's a huge accomplishment. So for me, I like the Orioles. I didn't really know them quite as well. I grew up a Phillies fan because that's where I'm from. So I'd been to Camden Yards a bunch as a kid. I'd seen friends who actually, one is a really close friend, who he and his wife come to a bunch of games. And I see him down at spring training and stuff like that. But I hadn't really gotten to know the Orioles too well until I got into their minor league system. Once I did, then it kind of changed. Then I'm like, all right, Austin Hayes is making his major league debut. I know Austin Hayes. Ryan Mountcastle's getting up there. I know Ryan. I know John Means. All these guys that across time you're with in the minor leagues, and then they suddenly get to the big leagues. Suddenly, then you're rooting for not only those guys, but you're rooting for the team too. And so I would say that I wasn't maybe an Orioles fan growing up, but being in their minor league system is where, for me, it kind of flipped, and I turned into an Orioles fan.
Yeah, so speaking of the Orioles, what a great spring training they are having. I have been really impressed with so many great players. A couple of standouts for me are Kobe Mayo and Colton Cowser. What are your thoughts with how well they are playing, and do you think they will continue to fire into and throughout the regular season? And who do you see being standout players during the regular season?
Well, some good questions there, Ash. I think that Kobe Mayo, a lot of his success is about his defensive improvements at third base. He had some problems maybe with his throwing when he was playing third, and if you miss with your throws, that can create some real problems. to actually change his arm angle and where he throws from to make his throws more accurate. And he's made incredible progress over the span of a year, really worked hard at it. And trying to teach somebody how to throw differently, that's a scary thing to do. And there's some players that don't necessarily like being told to do that. But to Kobe's credit, he worked on it and improved. And then every year offensively, he's gotten better. He's also gotten bigger too. He's one of the, he's a really imposing presence in the batter's box. I was actually doing the radio game on Saturday in Northport where he hit one out of the stadium. And I think he didn't break anyone's windshield. At least I'm going to hope he didn't. But, the power is there. The hit ability is there. I think the defense remains the thing that he continues to focus on. I don't know if we're going to see Kobe on opening day. I would tend to think we probably don't. But I think he'll be up with the Orioles at some point soon. And then Colton Cowser, just the swagger for him feels like it's back. When we met him last year and when we talked to him before, he's a very loose personality. He's fun. He's engaging. When he was struggling last year, you didn't see that nearly as much. And when you come up to the major leagues like he does, many guys struggle. It's just a matter of time. I mean, Gunnar Henderson struggled last year at the beginning of the year. When Adley Rutschman got to the Orioles, it took a long time for him to get his first home run and his first RBI and things like that. But eventually they figure it out. And I think that with Colton this year, he's going to figure it out. I think he's had as good of a spring as anybody in camp. He's more aggressive at the plate. His outfield defense looks really good. He's more confident getting to baseballs and not really, he's not as hesitant when he's out there. He's playing the game a little more free. And I think he's got a really good shot to be on the roster. I mean, other guys that, people talk a lot about Jackson Holliday. And I think that Jackson, it's going to depend entirely on, do they trust him to play second base? Because I think he can hit. I think his baseball IQ is there. I think that he fits in and he can handle it. I just think it'll come down to, on defense, do we trust you to play second base? Because a big part of the Orioles' success, guys, in the last 2 years has been how good their defense has been. And you know that the Orioles like to play close games, and defense is something that factors in. So that's a big point of emphasis for this team. Other guys that I'm looking to have big years, I'd say Corbin Burns is at the top of the list. Corbin is going into free agency next year, and that's a really big deal. And I think that he's going to rise to the occasion because he just knows how important this year is to him. I wouldn't pay too much attention to the spring numbers. He has his things that he's working on, and big league pitchers work on things. And, even if they're not necessarily just trying to get you out, they're not trying to mix in their pitches. They're trying to work on specific things. And that's where Corbin is right now, trying to figure some stuff out. But wouldn't be surprised if he has a big year. Wouldn't be surprised if Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman have big years once again. I'm especially excited to see what Gunnar does after his last season where he won the American League Rookie of the Year. He is a very, very special player.
Definitely. And what you were saying about Corbin Burns leads us into our next question. Obviously, the pitching has been great this spring training. Corbin Burns, almost 6 innings. He's got a 12.71 ERA. I know you said don't look at the numbers, but he's also got 5 strikeouts. So that's about a strikeout for every inning because he hasn't played 6 full innings, which almost makes me think that what you're saying might be correct, that he's just trying to still warm up to the Orioles. He's a little scared because it's a contract year, and, it could just be that they're not pushing him to what he wants. And also with Jackson Holliday, I think you're 100% right because you have a shortstop, you have a third baseman in Gunnar Henderson. He can play both. And I think the real question, like you said, with Holliday is going to be, do the Orioles trust him to play second base? But also, Holliday can also step into that utility role. Shortstop, second base. I don't think he has experience at third base. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I think that Jackson Holliday won't make the roster for opening day, especially because of his performance right now in the spring breakout game after he just struck out against Paul Skeens. But
a lot of guys struck out against Paul Skeens, though. That's the thing. He's really good.
And apparently he's not even feeling 100%. He only could go 1 inning. It's trending right now that Paul Skeens is feeling very under the weather. But when a guy's throwing 102, how do you call that under the weather? So
I would say to kind of just hit on some things that you touched on. I would say with Corbin Burns, don't pay attention to any of the spring training numbers. I think he's got a ton of confidence. He really knows how to work. He really knows what he's doing. And I think that spring numbers, you have to look at them with a grain of salt. Like you need to be careful about how you judge those types of things because for guys that come in, they're working on certain things. Like last year, Tyler Wells was your best starter in the first half, and his spring wasn't all that good. But then the season starts, and he's doing great. And some pitchers need spring to figure things out. Craig Kimbrell's another one. Maybe the numbers haven't been great, but there are certain things that he's working on. And when you've been playing and pitching as long as he has, you kind of are like, all right, you have to realize that he knows what his body's feeling. He knows what he's trying to work on. He knows what he's trying to fix. So you just let him do it. And if maybe he's a little bit wild or something happens, sometimes there's a reason for it. Sometimes, Corbin Burns in his last start really wanted to work on his cutter again and focus on that. And even if it's like he might have given up a home run on it, but it's like, all right, you got a bunch of basically minor leaguers in there who trying to hit home runs off of the guy. Minor league guys who come over and face major league guys like Corbin Burns, it's a big deal to them to have success off of those guys because it's something they keep in the back of their mind. But with Jackson Holliday, I don't think we really know at this point. We have a lot of really good players. Jackson offensively has proven himself. I think defensively, I think some of it is he hasn't gotten a whole lot of opportunities in games. And he looks good on the backfields, but sometimes he's not getting as many opportunities to turn the double play and start double plays. And there's nothing you can really do about that. Like that's just a matter of what the game's going to give you. But it does seem like on the backfields he looks really good. He certainly has the confidence. He certainly has the ability to hit. And listen, if he's there on opening day, it'll be great. If he's not, sure, it's just a matter of time before we see him during the season. But regardless, this Orioles team is really good, and there is a really deep farm system below the big leagues, and that's the type of stuff it's going to give the Orioles a chance to win a World Series.
Yeah, and that kind of leads us into another question. What are your thoughts about the infielder and outfield roles for this upcoming season? Obviously, Kobe Mayo, Jackson Holliday, Gunnar Henderson in the infield, just to name a few. And then you've got 6 guys for the outfield trying to fill 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 spots in Stowers, Kowser, Kjerstad, and then the 3 starters, Santander, Hayes, and Mullins.
Well, you know that Hayes, Mullins, and Santander, that's your starting outfield.
They're your locks, yeah.
Those guys are entrenched there. The kicker is Jorge Mateo going to be on the team? And if he is, maybe it means you carry one less outfielder. And that could have implications for other players. The other thing, and we, knock on wood as we say this, is it's March 14th. And we still have some time left, and sometimes injuries pop up, and sometimes unexpected things happen. So sometimes when you look at the camp battles right now, you're like, well, we might need to wait a little bit longer based on other things that happen, other things that this team needs. But I think on the infield, it's really intriguing, especially with Jorge Mateo. I think Jorge Mateo, there's a lot of things that he can do, and I think his presence on the team can affect a bunch of other guys and have a dominant effect. Ramon Urias has played really well at third base. He has hit really well in the spring, but you do have Colton Wong, who's won 2 Gold Gloves and is a very, very good player. Didn't have a great year last year on offense, but he still was on the Dodgers playoff roster and played really well for them down the stretch. So you need to factor him in there too. And it's kind of similar on the pitching side. What is the type of role that Julio Teheran is going to have on this team? Because last year he came in kind of spot duty with the Brewers and did pretty well, held his own, having not pitched in the big leagues in a little while. What is his role going to be, and what's that going to mean for other people? So a lot of camp battles still to be decided.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting season for baseball, especially for the O's. I'm ready for the Orioles Magic to continue into and throughout the season. Are you ready, Geoff, to cover this amazing team? And by the way, I'm so excited to go to the game on March 30th against the Angels to celebrate my mom's birthday.
Love it. That's awesome. You're gonna just have to try and get her a foul ball though, okay?
I'll go bring my.
I'm really excited, guys. I mean, I'll leave you with this. 101 wins don't come along very often, and I've never been in a spot where I've been on a team that had 101 wins the year before and then comes in with all the expectations that the Orioles do. That's really unusual, but it's also really exciting, and I'm expecting 2024 is going to be a great year.
Yeah. So, Geoff, as you're young and just starting off, what advice could you give us as we continue this journey?
Well, I would say to both of you, if you want to do play-by-play, practice, like go to games and, practice at home, do a lot of reading and try and learn a little bit about a lot of different things. Like for me, and I think what kind of makes our broadcast fun is that we all have various interests and things that we can bring up depending on how the game is going. If it's an exciting game, we kind of let the game do the work. But if it's a really boring game, there are usually a lot of places that we will go and we'll find ways to have fun too. But I think to do that, you need to develop other interests in addition to baseball and sports and, read a bunch of different things, like read stuff about sports, but also read things about other topics that interest you. Do a good job in school. Realize that if you write really well, it's going to help you broadcast really well because, for me, I don't almost do anything scripted, but you're kind of a mental editor as you're going along. So become good writers. Really focus on that. Become good communicators. You would be amazed how many people are not good at that type of stuff. So if you can learn how to do that, I think it's great. If you can do anything like debate or speech or drama or acting or anything like that, those are all things that can help you in your broadcasting career. I did an acting class in college. I thought it would be a waste of time. It was one of the most valuable classes I took. I did an improv class last year, and it was really challenging but really fun, and it gave me some skills that I needed to do my job better. So, and just have fun with it. Baseball and broadcasting, it's really not rocket science. It's not curing cancer. It's not trying to change the world or anything. But if you keep it in perspective that at the end of the day, this is entertainment, this is meant to be fun, then people will enjoy it. And what I've found is that if I have fun, people that are listening or watching are going to have fun too. So don't take yourselves too seriously. Give yourself grace to make mistakes, and remember that every time you do it, you have a chance to get better at it. So even when it's hard, stick with it.
Me and my brother do baseball, and then sometimes I come to his games, and then if I commentate on my brother's games, will it help me with my sports broadcasting?
100%. Any type of games you can broadcast or commentate on is going to make you better.
Yeah, I practice a lot. And definitely what you were saying about making the game fun, we need to have a Ben McDonald singing Blink 182 2.0 this year.
Oh, man. Better that than Ben sneaking up on me like a dog and barking at my feet. No, we love Ben. Ben is a special guy, and he makes it fun every day. And I know it's fun for the people that watch it, but imagine how much fun we have with Ben when we're off air and the fun that we have off camera. That's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. I love watching his little we're 10 minutes out videos and how he just torments
I know.
Kevin.
Oh, he's awesome. He's the best. The absolute best. There's only one Ben McDonald. There is nobody else like him.
Yeah. Geoff, we really appreciate you coming on today to be our guest. You are amazing, and we have definitely learned a lot from you. I'm Jack, here with Ash, with Geoff Arnold. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you so much. You're the best. And
thanks, guys.